Alright everybody, so welcome to our course. I wish we had had a chance to meet in person for the first time, but of course with a snowstorm coming, that wasn't possible, and I didn't want everyone to be really far behind in terms of what we need to do to get started. So that's the purpose of this video, is to introduce you guys to the course before we meet, hopefully next Monday. What I want you guys to do is make sure you have the syllabus in front of you, which is posted on the portal, and have it open while I go through it. I'm not only going to show you the syllabus and discuss that, I'm going to show you the Mastering Biology website as well and how to log into that. So first things first, my name is Matt Sullivan. I'll be your professor for this course. We do only meet on Mondays for laboratory, 6 to 8:20 p.m. So that is in room 102 in Seville Hall. So I do expect to see everyone next Monday, as long as there's no more blizzards. In terms of reaching me, email is the best way to reach me. I do have a telephone number, but sometimes I forget to check the messages, so I always have my email out though. So I hope you guys will practice good email communication throughout this course. If you want to come see me during my office hours, they're posted here during the day. And I would prefer if you make an appointment with me first, just to make sure that I'm actually available. So my email address is here. The websites that we'll be using are Mastering Biology. There's a course code that you'll need in order to register for that site, which is listed right here. We'll also be using the Quincy College portal as well. So we're really using two sort of online platforms for this course. Now, one thing I want to stress, actually before I get into this part of the syllabus, I want to say one thing. Your encouragement to listen to this lecture is that I'm going to give you guys a quiz over the syllabus. That's going to be your first quiz. So make sure you actually pay attention and read through the syllabus on your own, kind of just to understand what's expected, and that'll prepare you for the first quiz that we have next time we meet. So a quick disclaimer. I want to address this up front so that no one is sort of upset by this at the end, and that is basically that this is not going to be an easy course. So this is a hybrid science course, which basically means that all of the part of the course that would be normally lecture-based, 3 hours a week that you would be sitting there listening to me, will be done online. So most of the course is online, but we will meet once a week for laboratory. Laboratory is mandatory, so we'll do lab activities during that time, and we'll also have a little extra time to do review for the lecture part for the previous week. So I do want to emphasize this won't be an easy course. It can be tough to take a science course online. Many people struggle in science courses as it is. I've seen this in my own classes. And then when you add most of the learning being online, it can be even more difficult. So I would not advise that this be your first online course or hybrid course that you take. It's not really a good experiment to do. However, it's up to you if you want to continue. If you do want to continue, be aware that you really should be really computer proficient, know how to use computers, and be technologically savvy. That's going to be an important skill to doing well in this course. You have to be highly disciplined and organized, because again, I'm not going to be there reminding you all the time when things are due. So be organized, be disciplined, and make sure that you are the type of person that can effectively learn on your own. Not everyone can do this. A lot of people need a professor standing in front of them for 3 hours a week. So you'll be doing all of your own learning through the book and also through online lectures that I'll post. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's skip down to our required textbooks and learning materials. The textbook that we're going to use is Campbell Biology Concepts and Connections. You can get this at the bookstore. When you buy it, make sure it comes with the access code for Mastering Biology. So our bookstore, if you buy this new, buy the book new, it does come, or it should come, with the access code. If, though, you bought a used book or something like that, maybe online, and it doesn't have the access code, you'll need to purchase that separately. And here are the instructions of how to purchase that separately, and I'll show you where that is on the website in a minute. It's about $60 for a subscription to the Mastering Biology site. Again, that's only if your book did not come with the access code. You'll also need the lab manual for when we meet for laboratory. This is also required. This is a much cheaper book. It's only about, I think, $12, and it's available at the bookstore. So make sure you have both of these things purchased as soon as possible. Hopefully you already have them. So let's skip down to instructional methodologies, which basically means how am I going to teach you? All right. Now again, in lecture, because the lecture portion is online, you're going to be doing all of this at home, and this is going to be done by reading your textbook. We're covering the book at a pace of about 1 chapter per week, so you'll be expected to read the chapter and watch the online lectures that I post. There's also weekly homework assignments that are going to be due online through the Mastering Biology website. Now for laboratory is a little different because it's a lab. You're going to be doing a lot of stuff on your own. You're going to be doing laboratory exercises. So it's more hands-on, it's participation based. I always do a little bit of lecturing in the beginning just to tell you what we're going to do for today as far as the lab exercise. But that's really short, and mostly you're going to be working on the lab exercise. I do post some handouts, so there's a couple labs that are not in the lab manual that we'll use as handouts instead. So this is important too. Because it's important to come to lab prepared, I give a short quiz at the beginning that covers a few things. That quiz will cover the lab exercise that we're going to do that day. All right. And that just is, again, to make sure that you read over the lab procedure before you come to class, and also to make sure you show up on time. All right. So, attendance policy. So, obviously, this only applies to the times that we actually meet, which is during laboratory. Attendance is mandatory, and this is because there's no way to make up a lab. All right, you have to be there to do it. I can't send you home with all the chemicals and supplies to do it at home. So you have to be there. Attendance is mandatory. If you're absent, though, you'll end up missing the quiz that day. That's the big penalty, is that you just won't take the quiz. And this can also lower your lab performance grade. Your lab performance grade is based on your participation. So because of this, if you do have to miss a lab, doesn't matter the reason. It could be a perfectly legitimate reason, or maybe you didn't feel like coming to lab. Your first absence doesn't really count against you because I drop your lowest quiz score. So just keep that in mind. But again, that's your drop grade. So if you have to miss a lab or you just want to miss a lab, that's your drop grade to use. I also ask that everyone shows up on time. And again, the reason for this is because I discuss a lot of important things in the beginning of class, like safety. So I really need everyone to be there on time. If you show up late, you may miss the quiz. That's kind of your incentive to come to class on time. And if you do come to class late, make sure you tell me, all right, because then I can mark you as tardy and not absent. All right, so it's your responsibility to come tell me that you were late. So in terms of how you'll be graded, the lecture exams, there'll be 2 big exams, a midterm and a final exam, that are based on lecture material, and those are worth 40% of your grade total, so 20% each. They'll also be on the same day that we take the midterm and the final. There'll be 2 lab practical exams, and these are the exams that pertain to the laboratory, pertain to the lab exercises that we've done. And they're called practical exams because they're more hands-on. You may have a couple of stations in the lab that you have to go up to and observe and answer questions about them. And those are worth 10% total. Those quizzes that I mentioned, which you'll take in the beginning of every lab session, are worth 15%. Online homeworks on the Mastering Biology site are worth 15%. We'll do some discussion posts as well, which I'll explain in a minute, worth 10%. You'll turn in lab reports for many of the labs that we do. You'll turn them in the following week, 5%, and the last 5% is for lab performance. So let's go through some of those items. So again, the lecture exams, there's 2, a midterm and a final. Each one covers 6 chapters. So the midterm is chapters 1 through 6. The final is chapters 7 through 12. So it's not cumulative. There'll be about 75 questions, matching and multiple choice, and maybe a short answer or an essay question. So I just kind of have some ground rules for taking an exam. You can't leave the classroom during an exam. You have to use the bathroom beforehand if you need to, for obvious reasons. If you go to use the bathroom, how do I know that you don't have note cards or something in your pocket? So you cannot leave during an exam. Always bring a pencil. You'll need those to fill out the Scantron sheet. And you have to make sure everything's put away under your desk. And I'll go over these more as we approach those dates. Now, here's my advice for preparing for the exams. They're going to be based on material that was covered in the book and covered also in the online lectures. It's basically the same material. If you want to be successful on an exam, you should do the following to prepare. Make sure you're doing all your assigned reading and completing your homework assignments. Those are your weekly sort of practice for each of the chapters. Now, practice your knowledge. So after we finish a chapter, practice your knowledge by answering the study questions at the end of the chapter and review all your old quizzes. And during the class before we take an exam, I will usually hold a short review session. So this review session, and I'll actually do more of these, I'll probably do one every week or so, just a quick review of the chapter you studied the week before. But the week before we take an exam, there'll be a longer review session. Show up to this review session having already prepared a little bit. All right, have questions to ask me, have things you want to review. And then most importantly is to not wait to the last minute. So studying should be an ongoing process every week. So that's my advice, is to study each chapter thoroughly right after we cover it. And then once we get to the midterm and the final, then review once again. If you still aren't doing well, if you're still struggling after doing all these things, come see me for help. I'd be happy to offer some suggestions. So those are the two big exams. The practical exams, again, they'll be given on the same night as the two lecture exams. They'll involve a written portion of questions and a hands-on component, like I mentioned. So the quizzes, again, at the beginning of each lab session, we'll start with a quiz. Might be about 15 questions or so. And this quiz covers two things. It covers the chapter assigned during the previous week, and also the lab exercise to be performed that day. So these quizzes, again, are sort of twofold. They cover the chapter you learned the week before, and they also cover the lab exercise that we're going to do that day. So make sure you study the chapter assigned, you do your homework, and you read the lab exercise in order to prepare for that quiz. Now, like I said, the lowest quiz score is dropped. All right, so your online homework modules, these are available to complete for all or most of the chapters that we cover. And they're on the Mastering Biology website, and you should complete them after you read the corresponding chapter. All right, so I'll show you them in a second, but basically they're just modules where you complete a variety of activities like answering multiple choice questions. They may have short videos to watch or interactive assignments. I don't put a time limit on these, so you have as much time as you need to. However, they have to be completed by the due date listed. All right. I really advise that you guys complete them early. Don't wait till the last second, because you never know if you're going to lose power or your internet will all of a sudden be down at the last second. So I don't extend the due date for any reason like that, but I do drop your lowest one just in case you have an issue like that. So I'll show you the Mastering Biology website in just a second. Discussion posts. I'm going to discuss these in more detail a little bit later on, but basically what you're going to do is there's 3 discussion post assignments. You'll watch biology related films online. Usually I pick 3 PBS Nova documentaries that are related to biology. You'll watch them. They're usually about an hour, and there'll be some questions that you have to answer and some discussion posts that you have to do related to those videos. So lab reports. So there are a few lab reports that you're going to have to submit for some, but not all of the lab exercise that we do, and they are due by the following lab. So if we do a certain lab one day, the lab report would be due the next week at the beginning of class. All right. Now these are not really formal lab reports. You're not really typing. You don't really need to type anything up. All you have to do is submit the results and data and study questions section of the lab exercise, which is right at the end of each exercise. All right. So lab performance, last part of your grade. Lab performance, worth 5%. It's basically a participation grade. All right. Now the way I like to sort of describe this is that everyone starts off with a grade, lab performance grade of 100, and the only reason why you might get less than 100 at the end of the semester is by doing some of these things, sort of some of these no-nos, these bad things. So, for instance, violating the safety rules, which we'll go over on the first day of lab, not cleaning up, mistreating the equipment, leaving lab early. Just a variety of things, including tardiness, being late, again, or absences. Those all affect your lab performance grade. Now, with that said, most people, as long as they show up and they participate, most people stick to their 100 lab performance grade, and it usually just helps you out. And lastly, I always get the question at the end of the semester, do I offer extra credit? No, I don't. All right, so there is no extra credit. Occasionally I'll give bonus points on an exam or have bonus questions, but there is no extra credit assignments. So if you are struggling, make sure you see me early on in the semester so we can talk about what might help your grade. So makeup assignments. All right, I generally don't do makeups. All right, so all assignments are due on or before the due date and won't be accepted late. This is true with online assignments. They're available to complete a whole week before they're due. So you have a whole week to do the online assignments. So really, as long as you don't wait till the last second, and sometimes that happens. You wait till the last second, and then all of a sudden your internet doesn't work. So make sure you're not waiting to the last second to do them. I do make an exception for the midterm and the final exams. I do allow a makeup for that, but only under very specific circumstances. They have to be some kind of legitimate emergency, a medical emergency, for instance, and you have to provide documentation like a doctor's note. So in those rare circumstances, I would allow a makeup, but it has to be completed before the next class meeting. All right, but all other assignments there are no makeups for. So I want to skip down to this section on classroom etiquette and professionalism. So this is this section is kind of what I like to call my pet peeves. All right, so you might have seen other instructors kind of talk about these sorts of things. So I like to think of class as the same as you would going to work, where everyone is expected to kind of act in a professional manner. So here are some of the things that I mean. So with that said, please arrive on time. Well, you have to anyway because you might miss the quiz if you come late. Print any study materials ahead of time. Don't leave the class to print them. Most of the time, this doesn't really apply to the lab, so it won't be a big deal. Don't ask questions like, will this be on the test, or do we really need to know this? All right, because everything that we cover is potential test material. So with that said, though, the day we review for an exam, feel free to ask me that question all you want. Just don't ask me as we go along. If I'm talking, please don't talk or whisper because it's noisy and I get very distracted. I'm an easily distracted person. Make sure you turn off your cell phone before class. All right, so don't use your cell phone during class. Turn it off. Don't turn it on vibrate because even then you can still hear that noise sometimes. And then lastly, I ask that you don't complain. All right, so anyone who has kids or knows a little bit about raising kids or remembers being a kid, we always teach our kids, don't complain, right? All parents do this. So we're not really any different as adults. So again, I'm warning you guys up front that this course is difficult. It's a science class. They're not usually easy for most people. So rather than complain that it's too difficult or there's too much work, just come see me if you want some extra tips or advice. All right, but don't approach it in a complaining manner. Another last thing in terms of professionalism and classroom etiquette, this is one thing that I ask you guys to do, is to try to put together, when you send me an email, a professional looking email. All right, now I know this may sound a little strange, but it's a really good habit. It's a good soft skill to take away from this class. All right, I speak from experience that if you want to be taken seriously in your professional life, you have to learn how to send like a decent email. Something that doesn't look like this. Something that doesn't look like a text message. All right, if you take just an extra few seconds or maybe a couple of minutes to send an email like this, you're going to be taken more seriously in life. All right, so I really ask that you guys send professional emails, and I'll do the same with you. So we all text. We all send things like this to our friends, and that's totally fine. But in a professional setting like college or your job, try to send professional-looking emails. All right, so technology is obviously really important for this course. You guys are expected to check your Quincy College email account every day. For those of you who have never logged into your Quincy College email account, make sure you do so because that's how the first time you log in, it now becomes activated. All right, so your email account is not activated until the first time you log into it. All right, so here's how you log into your Quincy College email account. You log into the portal, and if you've never logged into the portal, Here is how you do it. Your student ID, your username is your student ID, and your default password is the last 4 digits of your social security number. And once you're logged in, click the student email link. That's all you have to do to get into your email. We're almost done. All right, so academic integrity. So I take plagiarism and cheating very seriously. So anytime you do any writing, like a lab report or your discussion posts, all of that has to be your own words. Now, this is especially true for lab reports. People think that because they work with a lab partner that they can turn in the same lab report, and that's not true. So you and your lab partner might have the same data, all right, but all the writing, all the graphs, all the calculations have to be your own. Otherwise, that's considered plagiarism. Cheating is obviously forbidden. So when you take a quiz or an assignment, you're not allowed to have any cheat sheets or any study materials open. Otherwise, it's considered cheating. All right, so my policy for cheating or for plagiarism is that you receive a 0 on that assignment and it can't be used as a drop grade. And I also report everyone to the college who takes place in cheating or plagiarism. All right, so the rest of these are sort of college services, and you can read about those on your own. But now I'm going to skip to the last part, which is the schedule of topics and assignments. So let's look. How this is arranged is on this side we have lab activities, everything that we're going to do in lab on every Monday. I've already factored in that we have a snow day today, Monday the 26th. And on the other side here is all of the stuff that you're expected to do on your own that week. Now you guys will see that the due date for the lecture assignments, such as your online homeworks, is usually the Sunday right before lab. So you have that entire week up until Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. to complete your lecture assignments. All right, now your first assignments aren't going to be due until the 8th. All right, Sunday the 8th. And that is going to be homework on Chapter 1, again an online homework assignment, and an online homework assignment for Chapter 2. I made them both due on the same day on the 8th. This one was originally due on the 1st, but because of the blizzard, I thought just in case, we'll make them both due on the 8th. You can see that the first time we meet now for lab, you're going to have a quiz, and the quiz is going to cover the syllabus. Again, that's your incentive for watching this video, and also the exercise, the lab exercise that we're going to do, which is this one, data analysis and predicting rates. So make sure you read that lab exercise in order to study for the quiz and also study your syllabus. Going forward, a typical quiz is going to consist of the chapter you read for the previous week, all right, and also the lab exercise. So you can see that our quiz on February 9th is going to be over chapters 1 and 2 because, by that time that we meet, you will have done both of them, and the lab on measuring the pH of a solution. All right, so that's what to expect when you come to lab, is that the first few minutes we'll be taking a quiz. Your first discussion post assignment is not due until February 22nd, and I'm going to go over that with you in person when we meet. All right, so with that said, let's move over now to, first of all, let's look at the portal. So once you're logged into the portal and you click under My Courses, you find Bio 111HY, that's our course. This is what you're going to see. Most of you are familiar with using the portal, but if you're not, pay attention. I have the syllabus posted right here, and a few other things too. Gradebook. So all of your grading will be done, your actual grades that reflect your current average will be entered into the gradebook. So I enter grades using this gradebook. So you'll be able to see your current average after we start having assignments due. Also, we have video lectures. So let me click on that. And what you guys will see is under video lectures, this is where I post my video lectures for each chapter. So again, on your own time during the week, make sure you read the chapter, watch the video lecture, and complete that, and also complete your online homework assignment. Okay, so for some reason, the portal is not being very nice to me today, and I can't click on video lectures. But anyway, it's all there, and the first chapter, the first video lecture, is posted, so you can start immediately on that. Over the next couple of days, being stuck home, read your textbook, watch this lecture. Hopefully, you have internet access. Now it seems like it's starting to load. But in any case, what I'm going to do now is show you the Mastering Biology website. Again, the Mastering Biology site is where you're going to complete your online homework assignments. So what you need to do is to register first. So you would click on register now where it says student, and what you're going to need are a couple of things. You're going to need the access code that came with your book. Now if you don't have the access code and you need to buy one, they will walk you through the steps of how to do that. The other thing that you're going to need is my course code, the course code for our course, which again, if we look back at the syllabus, is right here. That's the course code. Okay, and then after that you'll be registered and you can start accessing the online homework assignments. So what I'm going to do is sign in, and I'm going to show you what the site looks like. Now my site may look a little bit different from yours because again I'm the instructor, so I don't exactly know what yours looks like, but it's probably a little different. But what we're going to find over here is assignments. All right, we're going to find a few tabs: assignments, roster, which you probably can't see, and gradebook. Now I want to emphasize this. Don't pay attention necessarily to this gradebook, because all I do when you guys complete online homework assignments is I pull the grades from the mastering site and bring them over to the gradebook on the portal. All right, so really if you want to look at your grades that have really been truly entered, use this gradebook on the portal. But anyway, let's click on assignments. And what I'm going to see are all the assignments, or I should see all the assignments that are going to be due for this course. Basically, there's one homework assignment for each chapter. So here's homework chapter 1, the homework for chapter 2, along with all their due dates. Again, you have a full week to complete these homework assignments before the due date. So they're open for a full week. There's also another assignment here that's Introduction to Mastering Biology for non-majors. And I say right here it's not graded. This is just a quick practice assignment just to get you familiar with how this website works and how these assignments work. So even though this will produce a grade, I'm not going to count this as anything. It's just sort of a practice and introductory thing, an introduction to how to use the Mastering Biology. So let's look at homework for chapter 1. That's the first one that's going to be due on the 8th. So again, it's probably going to look a little bit different for me than it does for you. You probably won't see this screen. I'm just going to click on Student View. So this should be what you would see when you go to take this assignment. Now again, this does not have a time limit, but it just has to be done by the due date. So usually the first few exercises, which are worth more points, are these interactive assignments. So here is one that says Learning Through Art. I'm going to click on that. Now in this activity, for example, the directions are always right there and they're pretty specific. Alright, it's going to ask you, let me just make this bigger. It's just taking a little while to load, but it's going to ask you to first drag the blue labels to their correct location, then drag the pink labels to their correct location to show how oxygen and CO2 cycle in the ecosystem. Okay, so you're just going to drag these terms to their proper location. Alright, so, and you will learn this. I'm not going to do them all for you, but once you drag them and complete this little assignment, you always hit submit. Alright, now what it's going to tell me right here, because I didn't finish it, is that this is incorrect. I did not do it correctly, and I have one attempt remaining. So this is true with all of the questions on all the homework assignments. You get to try them twice with no penalty. So you have 2 chances to try them and get them right. So I would suggest that you don't just kind of try for the sake of trying, but actually, do the reading and make sure you know how to do the question before you hit submit. All right. So again, I could try it again. Maybe I'm going to drag something over here. maybe here. It's not letting me. Alright, let's say I try again and I hit submit. Okay, so I had to pause that again because it looks like my browser froze. So I'm just going to close out of this and we'll go back. Let me just try that again. Alright, now this system usually isn't that buggy, but my computer is been giving me problems lately. So anyway, that was the question that we just did. You can see I scored 23% on that one. Alright, out of the possible 5 points because I didn't really do it correctly. So there are a few other activities just like that. There's an MP3 tutor session where you have to listen to a mini lecture, and these again are all interactive ones. And then the rest of them are just simple quiz questions. All right, so you can see that I've already done some of these and it tells me my score. So I'll click on this one, which I haven't done. And once again, I think I'm freezing up here. Try this one more time. Alright, something's not cooperating with me today. I'm just gonna... Yeah, must be my internet connection today. This is why I say, make sure you do it well in advance in case something like this happens. Okay, but basically you guys saw that we have all of the different questions and activities to do. When you do one, you click submit, and it'll tell you if you got it correct or not. It'll give you another chance to do it correctly. So you have to do each one of those little activities and click submit for each one in order to get your points for that homework assignment. All right. So that's why I say preferably just give it a try using that little fake assignment that's not graded, just to be familiar with how the site works. All right. So back to the portal for a second because this finally did load. This is where I had clicked on video lectures before, and you can see my chapter 1 lecture is posted. You can watch that again, maybe at on your own time during the snowstorm. So that is pretty much it. We've covered the syllabus. We've covered how to get into the Mastering Biology site to take your homework assignments. We looked at the portal a little bit. So again, next week, just as a reminder, let's look at our syllabus. Next week when we meet, okay, so between now and when we meet, the only thing you need to do is do your reading for Chapter 1 and and watch the online lecture for Chapter 1. There aren't going to be any actual assignments due this week. And again, I did that on purpose just because I don't know who's going to be without power or not. When we come to lab on Monday, a week from today, you'll have, again, a quiz over the syllabus and the lab exercise, data analysis, and predicting rates. All right. We'll also go do a little bit more introductions and go over lab safety on that day. All right. So your next homework, your next actual assignments in terms of the online homeworks aren't going to be due until the 8th. All right. So everybody stay warm, brave the weather, and get your Chapter 1 reading done over this week. All right, so I look forward to meeting everyone in person. I'm really not as boring as I sound in this little video standing here at my computer, so hopefully you didn't get the wrong impression, and I will see everyone on Monday.